Well, actually, at least speaking for myself personally, it was a very happy accident. I just happened to join architecture, but from the very first class, I knew that this is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. My wife, of course, has always had an interest in the arts and architecture also. So she joined architecture deliberately, but for me, it was a complete total accident. Very very happy one. We're a very drawing centric office. We believe in making as many drawings as possible for us for ourselves. So that's there. We also, of course, make models at various stages of the design process. So from your initial massings to a slightly more detailed model. And we also do work on the computer in terms of making 3D models. We use actually mostly two softwares for our 3Ds. In our initial within the office, we do SketchUp modeling. This is for us to get a kind of an idea of what we're doing. We do a lot of drawings, SketchUp, and then when it gets to a slightly more detailed stage, we make detailed models, and then we give it out outside the office to do 3ds views. Shaping environments at various scales, from even if you're doing a small apartment interiors, or we do slightly larger projects, it we believe that it has a very direct impact on how people live their lives, and there is a certain you're creating the environment, and that's huge, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. See the amount of investment that goes into it. We put in so much amount of time, effort, the number of people involved, the number of different kinds of agencies involved, and it's an incredible investment from everyone, not just in terms of money, but in terms of time and effort. It's an incredible, and what could be more optimistic than that? And it's going to take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, depending on the scale of the project. And that's it just believes that everyone here is an incredible optimist. And if you don't believe that, if you don't believe in that, what we're doing is important, or that what we're doing is going to make a difference, nobody would be doing this. We've been doing this for 17, 18 years in various offices, etc. And I can almost never reuse anything. I mean, there are parts of it that you use, there are learnings that we get from previous projects. But so we're a very process driven office. We think of architecture as problem solving. So at every place, the problems are different. You almost never get, even though you think that it's the same old house that I'm doing, it's different because the people living there are different and they have different requirements. The site will be different, the orientation will be different, the budget will be different. You can almost never ever say that it's the same problem that we have. It's very rare, actually. It's not that way at all. So for us, architecture is about problem solving. We try and identify these problems and we try and solve it. And that innovation happens as a byproduct. We're not even trying sometimes. And it's both good and bad, I guess, because of this. The good thing is it's not just the guys who are doing very large projects who are being published, who are extremely successful in many ways. There's you have so many people from so many countries who are doing very small projects, who are doing incredibly good work, and suddenly their work is accessible, which is invaluable, which is so good to see. So there's always the good part. Of course, the bad thing is that there's an incredible amount of imagery that's hitting you at almost always. So you just have to learn to filter a little bit. How does one even narrow it down? But I guess we find ourselves going back to the masters. From the Indian, you have Doshi, Korea, Bawa, and you look at these incredible architects for different reasons. Personally, I've been going to IIM Bangalore for ever since I joined college. For 20 years, 25 years, I've been going there, and I absolutely love that campus. And every time I go there, I feel like I see something new. I cannot believe that building's been built. It just works so well on so many different levels. I said a little while earlier that we think of architecture as problem solving, right? So I think the richness of a piece of architecture comes off when you unearth as many layers of questions as you can find. And if you can find answers or solutions to all those problems, then it's an incredibly rich piece of work. And I find that in IIM, when from volumetric, the feel of the space to detail, to the way people hang out there, to materials, to the way rainwater behaves, stormwater runoffs. It's all so beautifully integrated. Every time I go there, I'm just amazed. I love that. I love that campus. We're, as I said, a little kind of process driven, and we try to include the client in that process. Right. So, as I said again, that when we identify certain issues that have to be resolved in any kind of a project, right? So, for example, in Magic Threads, it was a children's boutique, but they also wanted this whole play area for kids, and at the same time, I mean, it was kind of a multi-purpose activity for children, which they would just get those, I don't know what you call them, jungle gyms or whatever, all kinds of crazy things that are happening, which we felt was very overpowering for the retail part of it. Right, so that's one level of problem that we have to solve. So, which is why those wooden louvers came into being, saying parents still want to see their kids, right, to make sure that they're not things. So you have this slight screening, and that overpowering colors that are there within that is not, it doesn't take away from the retail space. So that's one level of issue, and you have the level of saying, how do we make it exciting? So this is something we sit and discuss with the client, saying a common solution is to add color, right? So we said, like, can we do something else, the innovation? But it's still a problem solving. It's not just innovation saying, I want to do something different for the heck of it. So there is a thing that, okay, we have to make it lively. We have to make it, it has to show some kind of energy, but let's not do it in colors. Can we do something else? Is there another level of solution? So we say, like, light and shade. Right, so which is why even those louvers came into being. The louvers also, it's one solution which answers two problems. Right, so that's how we try, and we take it step by step, and we sit with the client and say, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it, and then it suddenly becomes clear. There is much lesser opposition. So we try not to start with a preconceived thing and then try and push that. We don't do that. We assign one or maybe two projects per person. Okay, so that's a given, and that person has to take care of that project, from correspondence to dealing with consultants to drawings to models. It's their responsibility. In a crunch situation, of course, there will be cross-pollination. I mean, people will have to help out. Back and forth, all that is always there. We also like to do design charrettes every time we can. For example, there's a certain part that we're not quite happy with, and it's not really going anywhere. We've sat on it for a while, and then we say, give it out as a small competition kind of a thing in the office, and say, let's everyone brainstorm on this. So though there is some amount of, I mean, everyone's aware of what everyone else is doing, but a project belongs to someone. We strongly believe that what makes anything good is ownership. From our office to the construction site. In construction site, I need someone to take ownership. So without that, nothing ever happens. I think a smart city is one where the authorities let smart people do the work. That's the main problem in our cities. We don't have qualified people being hired by the government to take care of the work. It's just bizarre. I don't understand it. In the 80s, we had Charles Correa as the architect for the government in Karnataka. Who do we have now? So most often, from your traffic planning to your garbage management to your road planning to your building of the important government buildings, you don't have the best people in the country doing it. If that happens, then how can it not be a smart city? Get the smart people involved. That's all it is. Apart from that, you use the technology on hand, but the smart people will do that. Why would they not? Right? So it's not like it's technology driven and you have to have connectivity, and it's not those things at all. It's very simple. We have thousands of years of civilization which we can look at. We can look at the Western countries to see what they've got right, what they've got wrong, how can we adapt it. It's so simple. It's all there. One of my friends used to work with Charles Correa, and that's something apparently Charles would say to him all the time, saying, it's all there, just learn to see. He would give him a Lego Writer's book, and say, just look at it, it's all there, your proportions, your scale, your materials, your light. Can you not see it? Why do you need someone to come and tell you about it? Just look at it, just learn to see. I mean, for our city, we need good, decent roads. We need, if you look at the traffic, our problem are our junctions. I don't know how much increasing road width is going to help if our junctions continue to be badly planned. They're not aligned well, there are differing road widths. Well, sure, we're going to have traffic problems. But who designs the traffic here? Who designs the junctions? How many times do we get professionals to do it? St. Mark's Road, Cunningham Road, all those new things that I've done, it's suddenly more a massive improvement. And what are we waiting for? I mean, there's no rocket science to this. If they've got the good people involved, it's done. It's so simple. What makes a city beautiful? Let's just think of what cities we like. We'll think of Rome, right? We will maybe in India we'll think of Jaipur. We'll think of the older cities. So what makes it nice? Well, it's friendly. It's for the people. You don't design for the cars. You design for the people. You have clean roads. You have clean pavements. You have some nice trees. The BDA localities of the old were so nice. They had parks, they had playgrounds, they had street furniture, they had footpaths, they had nice pavements. We don't get that in the newer parts of the city. Right? So obviously there's going to be frustration. There are no common spaces anymore. The only, lung spaces now are within the developments, the gated communities. So the moment you have a city where we have no shared facilities, the line between the haves and the have-nots becomes stronger, and that's not healthy. You should look at Chitra Vishwanath's work. It's just so incredible. It's just a way of life, isn't it? So much more than just architecture. It's just wonderful work there. There's Sanjay Mohe's building here at, what's it called? Terry. It used to be Tata Energy, but now it's called The Energy Research Institute in Indranagar. Incredible, to get air movement, air circulation going from the spaces to the natural lighting deep within the building. Beautifully done. For us, it's either literature or movies, and both we feel have a lot of common things to do with architecture. For example, movies I feel is very similar because you have so many different guys coming in, and you're not necessarily an expert in all of them, but you have to in some way exercise control over them. It's not like the director would be the best photographer or cinematographer, but in some sense he has to be able to control their product as well. The way a story is told, the way it's unfolded, what you want to reveal, what you want to hide. So for us, literature and movies are a big part of it. And having said that, it's something that we want to grow towards is also to learn from the local crafts. And that we feel is what adds richness to a building. It adds a whole different layer of meaning. That if we can find it's getting more and more difficult, isn't it, to get these craftspeople involved. So, I mean, if you take Kurosawa and all that, I mean, obviously there's just tons of stuff to take in, right? But what I'm trying to get at is it needn't be that, complete art house kind of movies, even other kind of movies. For example, if you take, say, Christopher Nolan, there is no linear narrative ever, right? But it's just incredible. It's so architectural, saying you don't know where you're going to get. And that's so interesting. So, which now means I can make my corridor as long as I want. I don't have to find the shortest distance between A and B. I'm going to find you the most interesting one. It's not great, is it? I feel, I think colleges today struggle to find great lecturers or great professors. For example, that's something CEPT has had for generations now. They've had these incredibly great guys who are completely committed to teaching. Right, and it's not easy for this many colleges to get as many great people. If you're not able to communicate a certain idea simply, then you've not understood it. Right, so I really feel that the students should start. They should learn to see. In Charles Corrier's words, I think that's the most important thing. Before you can start doing good architecture, you should first recognize good architecture when you see it. And that again, they should aim for that clarity. It's not I like this because I like this. There should be a very clear reasoning as to saying this building is special because of X, Y, and Z. And during your student years, or perhaps even after, that could possibly change. I mean, it's and that's absolutely fine. But at any given point of time, you should be there should be a conscious thought process in saying that this is good work. I recently attended a small 1 week session with Richard Leprostra, B.B. Doshi, and Peter Stuchbury, a small program in IIM. It was a 1 week program. Those guys were incredible, gurus, really amazing guy. So Richard said something very, very nice. So we were doing the compound wall of IIM, and so it becomes an urban situation, and we were seeing, what are the possibilities, etc. And he said, all this is very nice and very important. You've looked at traffic, you've looked at people, you've looked at movements and building heights, etc., etc., etc. All that is great, but you've forgotten one small thing. He said, what? He said, when you go to a doctor's place and you're sitting there and waiting, do you like it if the guy calls people who have come after you before you? So I said, no, obviously we're going to get pissed. So I said, that's what you're doing. The land has been here long before people came. So look at the land first. Look at where the water flows. Look at where the sun shines. Look at where the trees are growing. They've been there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, long before the people came. Try and look at the land before all this happened, before the mess. Then you can try and get there are systems at play already. So can you unearth those systems and use those systems? I think that was incredible. And I'm a big believer in case studies. I feel case studies aren't done well enough in college, because you say you're doing an X building, you just find, say, if I'm doing a school, you just go to a school, and that's not good enough. You have to go to the best school that you can find. That's where the learning is. Not just go to any building. And when you do that case study, you have to do it completely. It's not just a question of 10 photographs with a little bit of write-up, for each photograph. You have to completely know that building, and there is tremendous learning when we do that. I love Glenn Murcutt's book, which is such a different way of doing an architect's monograph. I love that book a lot. I love Ching, to reduce it to pure graphics, and those single line drawings, it's just lovely drawings. You look at Baba's drawings, so Baba's projects are great, but sometimes I can't look beyond the drawing, because what a gorgeous drawing. So each book has different things, and the reading is extremely important, because you cannot have a complete reading of it by only the image. If you can travel there and actually visit it, then again your learnings are on different layers. So both are extremely important.